がしい気配で感じたこともない何か新たな脅威。
Black Friday. Come on, you'll have to find some way to make it chaotic, even in a pandemic. We continued right where we left off from 2 weeks ago, with our heroines checking in on the Leaf Elemental. Of course, they got the usual clean bill of health from it, but then were surprised when Latte went right back to her sneezing fit. She pointed them in the direction of Maruyama-sensei, and for whatever reason, they couldn't figure out that he was the new victim of the week. I mean, yeah, he will be the first human victim to be infected by the Nanobyogen, but they also know that humans are at least susceptible to the Byogen virus. In any case, they confronted the new monster type, who kind of reminds me of Dr. Embryo's monster form. Though this guy was nowhere near as much of a pushover, as not only did he infect the entire zoo grounds, but he also managed to take down our heroines with one attack. This prompted Shindoinen to show off both her new looks and formally introduce her creation, the Gigabyogen. Get it? Because it's a unit of measure that comes in between a mega and a tera. Kinda makes you wonder why there haven't been any gigas up until now. I mean, they basically skipped from mega to tera. I don't know, maybe the big face just doesn't know his computer terms. In any case, since it was created from an actually living creature constructed from multiple elements, it was indeed stronger than the average monster of the week, as the Precure soon learned through a really well animated round 2. Yeah, worth mentioning, this week's animation was done by Ken Ueno, who as long as you catch him on a good day, he can make some pretty dynamic action scenes. I mean, just look at how many different flips Madoka does here, nice stuff. But all the gymnastics in the world couldn't stop this new baddie, and they were only saved by Shindoinen's vanity of wanting to show off her new monster to her boss. The Precure took this time to regroup. In the Byogen Kingdom, the king surprisingly did pay attention to Shindoinen for the most part.
Shinka.
King of gaslighting. Yeah, I'll say right now, the king has mostly been an underwhelming final boss character, so I do appreciate at least this little bit of clear manipulation, if only because it gives him a little bit of characterization. And considering he's doing this to such a loyal and legitimately entertaining villainess like Shindoinen, does give him some good heel heat. Anyway, her cohorts hinted that in the long term, this might not be good for Shindoinen, but judging by the end of this episode, I think she'll at least be the arc villain of this part of the show. Back with the Precure, all the animals at the zoo were understandably shaken up by everything going on, though I'd argue the tigers are acting normally. I mean, come on, have you ever seen an active tiger at the zoo? Still, there was at least one little creature who was especially traumatized by all of this. Of course, our heroines tried to comfort Koda by assuring him that the Precure would save his father, and surprisingly, he knew exactly who they were talking about. Just as a little reminder, the one who wrote that article was this guy, so yeah, that's a bit of an understated reaction. Shindoinen relaunched her attack, this time starting from the pier. The Precure confronted the Gigas, again with some good Ueno animation. And even the healing animals got a good moment here, coming up with a sound strategy of taking this guy down through attrition warfare. It seemed to work until the big guy revealed his big guns, or beaker bottle or whatever, that cancel out the healing oasis. Left with seemingly no other options, including Asumi not even being able to do anything, the Precure were forced to watch their town become infected. I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't laugh at this scene, but I don't know, that just felt like a total jab at Kira OP. I mean, I can't be the only one who thought that, right? However, the one girl who understood the most what it's like to be infected with the Byogens wasn't about to give up, and like a true leader, her words managed to reach her teammates. And you know, it's at moments like this that I really do appreciate how this season has basically gone back to the fundamentals of the Precure. It's a basic and yet timeless theme of wanting to support others so that they don't have to suffer. Yes, on paper it doesn't seem like much, but in times like these, even the simple themes are much appreciated. And as a result, the season has also been able to focus more on its characters, with even the fairies being able to get in on the action and give us, for the most part, a well-balanced team of heroines who are able to come together for one goal. It's good stuff that reminds me why I like this franchise so much. With that, plus some awesome music backing them, seriously, I love those trumpets, the Precure launched one more attack, and their Elemental Ball collection finally decided to produce the new product placement, new power, which was a... Okay, seriously, Toy, what is your obsession with the arrows and the bows? You're on the show that airs about an hour before this one, also got that as their mid-season power-up. Or what, are y'all just like a bunch of fans of Kamen Chalice? Because if that's the case, I would totally understand. Anyway, it also took all of the healing animals hostage, resulting in a rotating mechanic on the new toy. Okay, I didn't expect to do 2 Kamen Rider references in a row like this, but... So, with their new Den Common Arrows, the Precure also gained new amazing forms, as in that's what they're called, and a new finisher. I'll get to talking about the new forms later, but first I'll talk about the finisher, which is already done. For Super Form Finisher, it's relatively short, clocking in about 50 seconds including the transformations. I will say, they at least make the most out of that time with the nice touch of all of the healing animals landing on their respective partners' shoulders, but otherwise, it's mostly just pull back on the injector and let go. Not exactly a lovely force arrow that at least has Makoto's awkward wink, and definitely not a royal rainbow burst, but not bad either. Honestly, I'm kind of indifferent to this. Though, since it is relatively short, then that will mean at least there's a little more time for the actual fights. Also, is it just me, or does this make it look like the healing animals have checked out of the show, if you know what I mean? Still, they managed to rescue their teacher, who in his usual overdramatic fashion reunited with his son. And with that, the episode ended with Hinata, of course, playing up how good they looked in their new forms, likely so that the inevitable figures will sell better. Yeah, that's a different season. However, Queen Teatinu couldn't help but feel a little uneasy in spite of their victory. I think episodes like this really do show what this series is trying to do, remind us all of some of the core morals and values of this franchise as a whole. That and sell new toys. Okay, snark aside, I do really like how this whole episode was mostly just one big fight scene, peppered with speeches from these girls expressing why they're superheroines in the first place. This is far from the most complex or thought-provoking episode, but when you have great protagonists just standing up for their morals, you really don't need much more than that. I will say, I'm at least relieved that Shindoinen is sticking around in the show for now. Yeah, based on what her cohort said, she might be the first of the original trio to go, but at least it's not one and done, and for now, she's the only one who can create the Gigabyogens to justify the new power-up. By the looks of it, she might become a victim of her master's manipulations, which would be a great source of drama, as well as finally giving the big face some actual heat to him. Yeah, the king hasn't been a great villain, but at least with this, he can at least become properly hateable if he ends up offing her. In the meantime though, our protagonists have remained properly likable. Again, I just like heroines who at least maintain a consistent set of morals, even if they are a little bit simplistic. Granted, Madoka is a little more complex than her teammates as she was a former victim, which in turn makes her an ideal leader for this team. Thus, it does feel like they at least earned this new power-up. Said power produced an okay new finisher in my opinion, though I would understand if anyone was a little disappointed by it. But hey, at least the amazing forms look nice, basically going from scrubs to full doctors, with longer hair, skirts, and sleeves, except for Hinata, because it's Hinata. Honestly, I think I like her design the best because of that, and those giant drills on her head. Goes without saying, an episode that was mostly just fights was well animated and exciting to watch, so overall great stuff, and not a bad new power-up, even if the spinning animal heads is a tad bit creepy the more I look at it. In my latest Ojamajo Doremi review, I included my thoughts about the upcoming 2021 Precure film, so if you're at all interested in that at least, go check it out. I include some time codes for your convenience. Other than that, I'm currently working on my Simple Gear Axis review, which will be split into 2 parts. Part 1 will cover the first 7 episodes, and Part 2 will cover the remaining 6, which I do think will make for a nice even split. Look forward to it in about a week or 2, and until then though, farewell for now my friends, and uh-oh, looks like the Imagine Carousel has gone to Fritz again. Hang on guys, I'm coming!